It's just gone 7:30 Central African Time. You are listening to Radio Islam International, coming to you live this morning from the precinct of City Hall in Cape Town. And in our booth, we've got the Speaker of Parliament, Mrs. Thoko Didiza, who is chatting to us this morning. Speaker, thank you very much for your time and welcome to Radio Islam International.
Thank you very much to you and your listeners.
Madam Speaker, you know, this is the first SONA under the Government of National Unity. How has Parliament adapted to this new political structure, and what challenges have emerged in ensuring smooth legislative processes?
Thank you very much. You'll appreciate that Parliament, regardless of the formation of government, has a very specific role in terms of lawmaking, oversight, and holding the executive to account for its executive action. So that has not changed, and I think Parliament has done that well. And has done it effectively.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about tonight. Are we all ready and set? Are we expecting any surprises? We also understand the former president will also be in attendance, President Jacob Zuma. Everything in order?
Well, everything is in order. One thing we did not expect is the wind, but it's Cape Town. I mean, you'll always have the wind and the sun and the rain at one time. But in terms of our dignitaries, it is custom for Parliament to invite our former head of states, as well as the deputy presidents and former speakers of Parliament. So from where we sit, we have received confirmation from all the three former heads of state, President Khalima, President Zuma, President Mbeki, as well as Deputy President Mabuza, that they will be coming. So we are waiting to welcome them into the prison.
And then let's talk about the Parliament building. We still don't have the official date or when we'll be exactly having the next State of the Nation address in the Parliament building. What's the latest after it has been torched, I think now 3-4 years?
Well, work has already commenced. Firstly, because this was a heritage building, in its demolition, you would need to have the South African Heritage Center to be there, you know, as you demolish, so that they can look at the artifacts, some of those that can be saved and so on. So that work has been completed. Now, a contractor has been appointed by the DBSA, who will be the one that is responsible for the construction. So building will be commencing very soon. And our timelines as Parliament was to have the building ready by mid-2026. And we hope that by all other things, we will still be able to meet that deadline.
Speaker, we also see that the DA is calling to scale down on the SANDF forces later this afternoon, given the context and circumstances of what is happening in the DRC. What do you say about that?
Well, let me say it was both the DA and the economic freedom fighters who have actually made that request. You would know that the Speaker, the chairperson of the Council of Provinces, we are actually civilians, and we cannot take that decision. And actually, that is the responsibility of the Defence Force to actually deal with the issues of ceremonial events and in different categories. So the Defence Force has come back to us to say yes, they appreciate the concerns that have been raised, but in any event, the taking of, or rather doing the salute is not an issue of pomp and ceremony. It's saluting the head of state, who's also the chief commander. So in their view, that will proceed as such. So, and also I think it was not very clear what scaling down means, because in any event, it's not the whole army that come. It will be the Presidential Guard, it will be the Navy, it will be the Air Force, but also not big contingents. It has always happened, and all what they do is to march past the president and, the president take the salute.
And then Parliament plays a central role in shaping the country's future. What is your message to South Africans who feel disillusioned with politics and governance?
Well, my message to South Africans is maybe I would say let's take a step back. Remember ourselves prior to 1994, where we never had an opportunity to participate in the governance of our country in any form, where majority of South Africans were excluded and disenfranchised, never had an opportunity even to elect their public representative. That changed in 1994. It also changed the architect of our democracy by ensuring that we are a constitutional state, which therefore means even Parliament, as a lawmaker, as an oversight body that has to deal with accountability for executive action, if they have not done certain things correctly, they can actually be taken to our courts. The judiciary will have to determine whether what we might have done in lawmaking, we have, look at all checks and balances, we've consulted the citizens, got their input, because our democracy is participatory. And I do think as South Africans, we should not miss that opportunity. And therefore, Parliament holds an important place in our political landscape as a country, because it is through Parliament that as the electorate are able to express, our views, our concerns. It is through Parliament that we can make input on the governance of our country, and it is through Parliament that we can hold those we have elected to account.
Speaker, I want to talk to you about the efficiency and productivity of Parliament. We have seen delays in passing key legislation. How will you ensure that Parliament works more efficiently in enacting laws and addressing urgent national issues?
One, we will strive to make sure that the capacity of our, portfolio committees and select committees is enhanced, both in terms of human resources as well as financial. But it is also important that in the lawmaking process, there is a part where citizens must participate. And as we know that the inequality in our country is still very deep, and therefore not everybody can take a flight to Parliament. So it compels portfolio committees most of the time to go out in order to get the views of our electorate on a lawmaking process. And that actually does have an impact on how fast you can actually come up with legislation.
And then, many South Africans feel disconnected from Parliament, and they see it as a space for political elites rather than ordinary citizens. What are you doing to rebuild public trust?
Well, in my view, one of the important things that we have to do is to build civic education more. Because at times we disengage because we think we are not belonging into political parties, so it doesn't matter, my view doesn't matter, which is not correct. All of us as citizens, our voice matter. And therefore it's important for us to actually participate in those processes. For instance, when we, develop a legislation, we advertise widely, not only on electronic media, not only on broadcasting, but even on print media and on radio, to actually say, this is the legislation that Parliament is working on, please give us your views. You do not have to do that because you are in a party. You can actually write directly to Parliament as a citizen and say, with this particular law, this is what I think ought to happen. And those views are taken into consideration, because public participation must enable every South African to actually make an input. And I think for me, as our democratic process as a country grows, we will have more appreciation of the need for us to participate. Part of what we do as Parliament by bringing young people, either as in the parade or as choirs to sing, it's also to expose them to this institution that may seem very far from them, that this is your institution. Get a sense of what it does and become, part of the citizenry that can shape the discourse of our country.
Finally, Speaker, how has your personal journey been in this role? What are the highlights? How have you been managing family life and all other matters?
I must say that it is not an easy journey, but it is an important journey. And I must say that having had many women speakers before me, one has had an opportunity to also interface with those former speakers to gain wisdom on how they have actually managed an institution such as this before. But also, family is an anchor, in my view. I am able to make sure that even within the busy schedule, I do create time for family. Not just my children and my husband, but also the extended family, my siblings, and in the black community, we've got a very big family structure, and all of them matter. They may be cousins and extended cousins, because they are the ones who also help and shape your values as a society and community. I also find time to do my constituency work, because as much as I'm the speaker, I'm a member of parliament. It's important also for me to appreciate the constituency that I work with. What are their challenges? What are their needs? But as a speaker, it's important to also reach out to community organizations and other non-government entities, so that we can also solicit their views, but also draw on their strength. Because for me, it's not just about soliciting views, but it's also about looking at how some of those who lie outside of the purview of parliament, their capacity can help us to strengthen our democracy.
Speaker, thank you very much for your time, and all the best this evening.
Thank you very much to you and your listenership.
Thank you. Bye-bye.